My name is Dominic Williams, and I'm the regular MC at a spoken word open mic night that has been running at a venue in Wales for over 13 years, since 2010. During the pandemic, we took that event online and opened a Zoom channel, and in doing so, discovered that our event suddenly became far more international and far more accessible to disabled writers than ever before. When we moved back into physical venues in 2021, we decided that we did not want to leave behind the extended community that had joined our events. So in Wales, with Write for Word, and in Sweden, with Cwrw, we developed two projects, the RAMP project in Sweden and the Press Speak Not Delete project in Wales. And through these projects, we've developed the hybrid model to ensure that the people who join us online and the people who join us in physical spaces share the same experience, and that experience is inclusive and welcoming. This is our future prospects, to take that hybrid model to as many venues and spaces where we can continue that inclusivity.
They who shot the mole and unbeminded led the generations into swing. The magicians and polytheists of half-eastern milk warmly USH. Clil. God bless Hamharada. Hey, who's got the fireworks? Who's got a glass of some beer? Guess what exactly is going wrong in here? This isn't a zoo. How dare you leave the goat unintroduced? Queer me, where are your antlers? Diolch, no applause please. I Zablo Jinxon, proud Hamharraden, fresh of shirt and spirit, bubbling father and demoted huntsman, sweet to his kin, keeper of dogs, take it into my head to declaim, love be to the ape shift and weary, here with no hill to stand on. My bloodied brother, I meant no harmony, my palms are up. Who among us wasn't babe wrapped in a flag? Calms cry down for the anxious. Hot bowls of veg for the hounded. With the grave-faced and frightening ghost in the slate as my witless, having taken all variables into a countertopped kitchen, not my own, and dropped them over the floor, a mess of yolks, I flatly and broadly avow that the urge of my Clabra-Fram family is at base benign. Signs for ye lostful, staves for ye bent, saps for them fruitless, for the day of cement, labs for the mad, a national lament. All this and more do I legislate. What man, nay, beast would quarrel? Die young. Ernie Wales. Andromeda Deckles. The list goes on. Longface Howardson. Neb Green. There are too many of any to name before the moon's got fat again. Dab painters. Frame breakers. These people shaped our land. Clil. Glad. Now, quiet at the bank. Be respectful. Did you ever realize that money is magic? I keep $12 in 5s and 1s in front of my mirror and I wrote this spell. Think what you could do with $12 you vowed never to spend, and concentration. Visualize yourself achieving it. Quick in the morning, friend and neighbor, a sweet Hamharraden, sharp as glass. If tobacco has been poisoning your marriage, give it up please, ladies and gents, for the Alf Daniels trio. Appearing imminently later on this evening, interrupting the janitor's speech for your delectation, appearing live in Concord for the first time since the referendum. It is my fond opinion that there is no finer instance of the glad Harridan subtlety today given form than that which is expressed by these two fantastic young men and a woman. Mates, it is no great secret that I who slanged before you am a lover of verbs, but science must come to every man. For me, it remains only to say that by cowering here together, body to body, breath to breath, we do more than form a mere glistening phalanx in the heat. We do not come only to raise our voice like boys from birth and strike awe in the hearts of the stoats on the hill, nor indeed is prayer our sole concern. No. By joining this afternoon in gatherance, we folly not only with the furies of space, voice, and gad, but with the further fury of name. By attending, we collaborate in defining something. We cry, this, and nothing else.
When I was 7, every Saturday afternoon at 11, I would wander into town, side by side with my nana. We would loop the shops, then back around, but I was always newsstand bound. It was a reward each time, a weekly winning when she bought it. Tabloid trash, they call it. I would gravitate towards it. The fanatical and rabid made me desperate to discover. A Rottweiler raped my baby, printed boldly on the cover. The headlines were repellent, but the foulness was fluorescent. My sick husband faked a car crash and his mistress is my tenant. Even then, I loved hyperbole and all the things that words could be, and stories so grotesque that they would haunt my mind so sordidly. Did I know they were fake, all the lies in Take a Break? But they sharpened what I knew about the world and all its hate. They taught me your husband will fuck your sister. At your wedding reception, he will try to kiss her. They taught me the ugly and mangled and twisted, which in turn lent the tools I would need to exist. At 9, I discovered the tabloid tradition of girls guaranteed to show off their stock on page 3, ages barely off the clock like me. Daily I'd see them, stunning and plastic, double D cups that were pink and orgasmic. I'd sneak down to the worktop and steal glances, a thrill in doing what would get me in trouble, creep round and over the paper I'd huddle. On their breasts I'd scrawl profanity, microscopic so you'd only see if you were looking. A test on their chests addressed to my father, so punishment would reveal a stain on his honor. Not a little police informant, no, I was rather more dormant. Collecting information in lieu of tattling, for knowledge is far more important when battling. I do not know what I would have done had he approached me and reproached me, thrown back that I am not the one gaping like a gormless worm at all their treasure, perky, firm. But he never did. Even if he saw, he forever hid from the things that I would draw. I defeated my point, lost my king in our chess, as from then on he knew but would never confess. When I was 12, I played on the iPad, porn prominently plastered on the edge of girlgames.com. The women looked dead-eyed as they hung off the bedside, mounted and pounded as their thighs were spread wide. Of course I clicked and stared as they stripped, and the man bent her over, her haunches he whipped. And I browsed the site, window shopping, all through the night, video hopping, like the girls on page 3, but with more I could see and content specifically tailored to me. A knife to my throat, but I like how the blade feels. An addict to whimsy, available on demand. Between videos of animals and weddings, I would stumble on beheadings, unable to take my eyes away, a butcher's examination. Like the headlines, but visual, the violence is biblical, instantly accessible and criminally clickable. From magazines to laptop screens, we have built an infrastructure to beat our boredom and satiate our cravings for inhumanity, to revel in insanity and see the true reality of mankind's capabilities and warped sexual fantasies. Gen Z is corrupted like millennials and boomers. The internet has brought us nothing new. We've always been consumers of such content. Computers simply present. Oral tales of savagery and sadism serve as a structure to engage in escapism. Dating back to Adam and Eve, my girlfriend is greedy and ate from the tree. We devour the tales of lies and deceit. So a little girl who swallowed such stories like a ravenous wolf starved in the wild. She was only a child, but they made her beguiled and obsessed with the zealous, repulsed by the mild. She loved the extreme and the nausea she'd glean when something repugnant popped up on that screen. In such morbid fascination, we embraced the safe way to explore our own murk. Protected by putting the magazine in the bin or closing the tab, we get off on something else that we term vile. We build a wall between them for our own sense of security. They commit the act while we watch and retain purity. A man can watch a woman's rape and not be called a rapist. I can read that tabloid trash and not be called a sadist. All 4 of us, we are the same, even if we deny it, because although we don't supply it, we are still the ones who buy it.
You are so rarely thanked. You that see me chomp through carrots, albeit softened through boiling water or steam. Capable enough to tackle an apple unaided. Brazil nuts, almonds, walnuts. I have taken you for granted for years. Only the occasional cavity sends the odd shiver of doubt through my nervous system. The occasional brother or sister felled in the line of duty, lost to the dentist, wicked with his tools of extraction. The word drill, enough to give any sentient being the willies. I know now, years after the loss of my wisdom teeth, your value. Molars, incisors, canines. I want you to keep me company till the end. Why I brush and floss and rinse, treating you like the delicate jewels you are.
But we crave what's past. Why didn't it last? In photographs, we laugh, we cry, we mourn, we sigh. We reminisce the memory of who and when and how our lives survive without them. In photographs, we grieve for them and we grieve for us because we have no other choice but to live this loss. In photographs of frozen imagery, framed in pictures of moments past, when time stood still because it couldn't last. In photographs, we relive the experience. Every image transports us to a time locked safely away in memories of tales to tell, installed forever by one click of your hand to remember. In photographs, we talk and we focus on one another. Time snapped away, freeze framed the light of day, developing shots along the way in photographs of you. In photographs, reflecting image of myself, I stood, captured in your lens of shades of self-portrait. Sound and sea and mountain still, hidden before your eyes. Mind so intense, you could read his thoughts, whispering words through frozen lips, lost in the dimple of your chin of ghostly sand.
Explain to me, small cupped hands, echo scream through generations' blood foam, then spins warm, soft nests, which is then thrown out into a liberated rush of calm. A sudden darkness of birds and a sliding luck into the land of the many mists were bestowed upon me one day. How all my questions snuck from their answers there. How the mist then was lifted by all the bird song over me and my newfound balance pulse. I stayed there until the stillness turned into a hunger of energy and incipient restlessness, which now drives me to the land of beyond with vertigo lust a few feet above the ground, where the energy is served with every breath. I wanted to take off old bandages, useless old thoughts, dopamine kicks, bills of exchange, and day shift dreams. All this that a little tireless, thin, frail, and quivering heart muscle works for. I wanted to collapse inward, transform, and then feed me outward. To constantly think you take the step forward, and then you discover the circle step. To brush off disguises that sit so tight that I must perforate them. To meet the evil one and embrace him. To hand myself to the all-dissolving light, this clarity that shall cling to me and shall discover me every day henceforth.
This thread that I hold never falls from my fingers. This thread that I hold carries me through now and now to the next second, to the minute, the next hour, beyond the finish of the writing, and now beyond the reading of this text. This thread of spittle from my mouth, of the light beam in this bar reflected in my eyes, of expressions caught in you and you and you and you across the ether. This thread that moves ink across the page, that connects Stafford's words to me, and others' words too, from Keats and Yeats, Coyle and Macready, and those that come after her. Thoughts and words that will never fail to flow, always have sounds and strength, of many languages landing in your waiting ears, your outstretched fingers. This thread, this chain, this link that bolts us to this land, this town, this bar now, and to all our future nows not yet seen. This thread that glints in the deep recesses of conversation and connection will be mined, found, and won, be released, and release a flame to ignite, to consume our freely given energy, to warm our cupped and clasping hands. This thread to our futures that blinks our eyes, tugs our hearts, beats our pulse, and opens us to take the challenge and keep on banging the drum.
Morning, morning, dawns, drawn. Numinous, voluminous cumulus accumulates. Doom's uber lugubrious gloom looms. Alas, this amorphous mass seems an ominous mess, a monstrous menace amidst omnivorous mist. Here, her, haw, ha, here. Portentous caliginosity rolls in, doles out stingy dinginess. Thus, pusillanimous luminosity appears to disappear. Evanescent suns, fugacious gleams feel feeble, not ineffable, when hellish heavens close in, then open. Tizzy dizzy drizzles, intermittent pitter-patter bitterly batters. Dribs and drabs, drub, dribble, drip, drop. Bobble wobbly blobs, bob. Burbling, babbling, bubbles, pop, non-stop, pop, plip-plop. Twixt gargling, gurgling grills. Clutter, gluttered, gutters, gurgle. Gloopy globules go glug, glug. Percussively plummeting from ether to earth, whopping dollops, wallop. Earthling full tilt, woeful, willful tumults, whirl a while. Ruinous rain runs rampant. Driven, demented, drenched denizens, real, rail for real, again manifestly, feisty, fury. Within their hillier milieu, shellacked jacks, Pelt, helter-skelter, shelter from waters, welters, under glum umbra's umbrellas. Luge like the huge deluge thunders down random slaloms, which comprise and compromise Swansea's steep streets. An abhorrent torrent's aberrant torment gushes, rushes seaward as rapid rapids. All buckle and wither, discombobulated by bucketing weather. Sea smashed, sand bashed, splash lashed, mishmashes, crash, thrashed, dashed. There where despair throttles utopia, a cornucopia of onomatopoeia is here. Former euphoria's roars nevermore, morphs evermore into inglorious dysphoria, bludgeoned by an ocean in high dudgeon, downed, drowned, towns surround, sound resounds.
First with the sound and the shamans, later the scriveners, the keepers of treasure, embroiderers of lies, bringing legends and myth to the masses, mouths to control, to pacify, enliven and distract, reading a sin in itself, but a memory in rhyme, a well-flexed muscle of supple information. Even today, the word can be cancerous, killing the palms of the elite. Kids perpetually quake, enforce Shakespeare, learn about war, the given periods, Wordsworth, Byron, throw in some Shelley and an added feminist monster, make them ooh and ah, paraphrase and name. Hidden beneath blankets at lights out, Radio Caroline has become TikTok, and secretly the music and meaning prevails, questions in fear, the need to share and explore. Mouths are loud. Youth is what adds a heartbeat. The literary patrons in the past bleating collectively, pushing. Publishing had once a bin full of crumpled paper, those liver-spotted hands, cast iron heating to make neat again today. The act of art, of the creative in itself, the once flattened, now is allowed, accepts the reflection and future, moulding with a new internal ear. We are making and creating constantly, but the futility or not is what is a question here. The yelling and changes that have always been, they mean the same now to express circumstance. Circumstance is inevitable and forges fragile bridges, permeable, leading to nothing but the utopia of shouting old sounds. You'll be passed from landmass to landmass, the hidden mother scrambling in the dirt the child talks about. Thought mouths are captured by patriarchal institutions, capitalism, religion, art and creativity, poetry, and the literary serves a purpose to fight. Only our tiny spaces, which are merely thought moments that exist and persist, like the Eiffel Tower's perspective, the engine that changed the speed of lungs. An apple drops through a thought field. A woman hides behind a man's voice. Creativity is the compulsion to break open the apple, to see the seeds with the roundness of rosy hardness. And that is art. That is the creative of question. To share is isolation in the loudness of loneliness. If the Eves and the Adams had looked beyond their patron of life, looked into the heart of the apple, they would have seen, might have seen, perhaps felt what fell from them in a shared moment. The organics of art itself, to know, to investigate and express. Art, as does science, needs a place without a name and hierarchy. Paint on a platform, ink on a place, voice in a space, investigation. We cannot change the world, merely represent it. I ask you, what means a place but an area? What is contribution but to put into something, to give, to invest? When there has been not social change or upheaval since the dawn of a clan, when has art and creativity not changed the world? From palm print to ritual, to understanding, killing, the horror of expressing. What is a better world from from past romanticism into the future romanticism? What is the future but the unknown predicted by patterns of every generation? There is no future, only now and the marks we leave behind. These days, everything is accepted, and the rocks, the foundations. We are the illuminators, young and old, from the movements of stone, the poised hands in the shadow of the candle, the singers of history, the shouters of the contemporary. We are the explorers every day in sound and silence, alone with company. We cannot change our world. We can only carry it with us, express it in anarchy with kindness from a sound or a shape. We make sound, we are the mouths, and literature must embrace, young and old, the same song, but embrace it anew. Historical tongues pertinent to the generations, and they inform the future.
Shadows that kept on chasing me down, cobwebs blocking my brain, obscurities that bear light, that make you see who you are not. And you know it. Ah, the horror. Turn a deaf ear to trends under the carpet, never-ending bleeding consumerism, and the dregs of all these chronicles. They make you buy, to buy, to buy. Ah, the horror, the horror. Remember that you're always a naked page. Lies and truth impose upon you. Now you know, you're someone pumped with images, chemical products, and illusions. Ah, the horror. Ah, the horror in my head. Tenebres que continuaven perseguint-te, teranyines aturant la raó, obscuritats que et fan plorar i et fan veure qui no ets. I ho saps, saps, saps. Ai, quin mal, ai, quin mal, ai, 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 quin mal, ai, quin mal, ai, ai, ai. No escoltis les tendències sota la catifa, el consumisme agònic sense parar i les rentades de cap cròniques que et fan comprar i comprar i comprar. Ai, quin mal, ai, quin mal, ai, 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 quin mal, ai, quin mal. Recorda que sempre ets nu i que les veritats mentides són posades. Ara saps qui ets, algú inflat amb productes químics i realitats. Tots, tots. Ai, quin mal, ai, quin mal, ai, 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 quin mal, ai, quin mal.
Pavement bustle chatter crashes against the chip paint park gates. The swan glide surface of the lake breaks, ripped like gift wrapping. Boats ribbon their wooden oars, block printing patterns. Children's laughter is swinging the sky. On the path, bikes trample the ground in a needlework of decaying pine. In the terrapin terrarium glass house, creatures clamber. The fat koi are sluggish, slow as barges, and bloated by the rustling paper bags of food scattered by toddler fists. Sweating palms stretch the glass. An ice cream cone drips rose petals. We crumble cakes into plates at the lakeside cafe, pink and perfumed against the white brushstroke lighthouse. Stained coffee cups crumple in corners. We watch the tangle of dog leads and trainers doodling the path. We put the world to rights and unpack the afternoon.
Vuxna som vill väl berätta för ett barn att det ska komma till dem om någonting är fel. Vuxna som vill väl berättar med bekymrat rynkade ögonbryn vad ett barn skulle ha gjort annorlunda för att det inte skulle bli fel. Vuxna som vill väl berättar att ett barn borde ha sagt till tidigare. Vuxna som vill väl är ledsna. Vuxna som vill väl kallar till möten. Berättar vad ett barn har sagt till alla det bryr sig om. Vuxna som vill väl berättar för ett barn vad de beslutat. Adults who mean well tell a child that it should come to them if something's wrong. Adults who mean well tell a child with worried, furrowed brows what a child should have done differently to not have something go wrong. Adults who mean well tell a child it should have said something sooner. Adults who mean well are sad. Adults who mean well call to meetings. Tell what a child has said to everyone it cares for. Adults who mean well tell a child what they have decided. I'm not going to heaven. Don't look at my source code. I'd rather get oblivion, thanks. You can't unveil the algorithms of stupid choices. There's no essence me stripped of erratic static background noise. Perfect speedrun up to build, I ain't. Game's not solved though the meta is stale. Now I'm a fail playthrough character test run shenanigan played for shit skipples and unfathomable misclicks. I'm not going to heaven. Just my gameplay. Read my .sad.
Dotty from our house. My English teacher approaches me. She wears an earnest expression with an accompanied intense frown. Louise, she says in a steady, non-quivering voice, I want you to write a story for the school Eisteddfod. Teacher's eyes peer over her solid black-rimmed glasses with purposeful intent, energetically an offering of confidence, eagerly supporting me to say yes. Be at the library at 1 p.m. Glaring eyes of disbelief, upturned noses as if met with a whiff pungently uninviting, faces of disapproval as my presence seemingly from the just above the tooks sort of average person who has accidentally been dredged up. From the elite sniggering chorus, a bitchy girl asks me, would you like direction back to your classroom? Sweaty, pimply, and a flush of fluster. God, please allow me to be swallowed up and out of sight. Ground remains still, with no escape offered. Musty smell of books entices with a momentary distraction. Teacher smiles, seemingly satisfied, as her boosting words of confidence applied enabled my sense of less than worthy rightful place to write has been conquered. Definitely no held high head from a place of earned respect. Nervously seated, having been guided by the teacher's commanding firm hand, eyes of glazed glare penetrating my flesh, soul says, pick up the pen and write. Dancing thoughts from the halls of imagination. I'm lost with rhythmic variables of the gliding pen, ecstatic, free as creating something so alive, from cascading ripples of words until story told. Writing, my therapist and friend, playfulness akin to an essential thriving organ, spirited with no hint of distraction from the considered elite pupils all around me. Powerful fear, be gone. I've escaped into the journey of endless possibilities. Delighted mind engaging with pen on paper, a story to be told with a beginning, middle, and end, possibly rebellion towards structure, with an offering, with a difference, crescendo of rapidity as the wave crashes with breath of satisfaction as story completed. Mind, body, and soul working together. Eisteddfodau, I'm sitting with a yearning, a desire for my story to be placed within reach of a prize. Dotty Teeny is called out. To my cousin seated beside me, I whisper, I think that is me. I hesitated too long, as next my name is called, Louise Bretland. My Dillies team members tap my back, pushing me forward towards the stage. Loud clapping and shouts of, that's first prize, full points. A red ribbon is pinned to my bottle green uniform top. Adrenaline surges through my body, a joyous result with proud adorning of the respected red ribbon. First prize, head held high, no gloating, as writing has greater dignity from a place of honourable character.
So, Carmarthenshire, the longest beaches, the oldest town, glorious gardens, magnificent mountains. Carmarthenshire in summer is a hidden gem. Sirgar, y traethau hyraf, y dref hynaf, gerddi gwydidog, mynyddoedd mawreddog, gem hydolus yn yr haf, yw byw yn Sirgar.
You asked me to tell you one thing that is important to me about Bardsey. Just the one? How can you ask me to take just one cookie off the plate? A single chocolate from the box? How can you ask me to put my hand into the box of treasures and take just the one from a myriad of all sorts of everything? In my heart, I carry Bardsey. Through all weathers, I sail before the wind, zephyr kissing my lips, rumpling my hair. Teasing breezes blow, salt-laden, redolent of the tundra, Sahara, Glasgow. How can I make that meteorological choice? Oh boy, what a tale it was. By Neptune, I worked hard on it. Aqua aerobics, hours and hours each day. It's not easy to keep a tale like that, and the polishing, every scale, every fin, the right lotions, rubbed to a shine. Elbow grease is what it took. So how did I lose it? Lust. I lost it after a man with gorgeous legs. Saw him as I was topping up my tan on a nice flat rock, quite near the shore. Oh, I felt something. And I tell you, I knew then that there was more to life if you had legs. Something wonderful. And I wanted feet and a fanny instead of my fabulous tail. So I did it. Yes, I felt the fear and I did it anyway. My choice. Only myself to blame, dears. I arranged the whole thing. A bad deal, but all for a pair of pins and some sex. So that day, when I sat on the sand and felt the grit on my bum and wiggled my toes and flexed my knees, he came to me and he kissed me sweetly and nibbled my nipples and said they were salty. I thought I would die of pleasure. Afterwards, the agony. I could not make a sound. My feet hurt like knives, and there was blood on the sand, and my tale was finished.
Always here for you. We'll protect you. Which is another impossibility. When I watch news of rising floodwaters and families climbing onto roofs or clambering on tops of cars before they're swept away by what they didn't see coming, or worse, knowing they're caught in catastrophes of others' making, hooking themselves into the swaying branches of drowning trees, seeing the waters rise to their knees, thighs, chests, watching their children fall away like leaves. To think of entire islands underwater and forests of tiny hands reaching up with nowhere left to climb. And I think of the ones with nowhere left to turn when no one in control wants to listen, forced into climbing gantries over motorways and up onto bridges to plead for what's left of their future, seeing what's coming, or gluing themselves down to show what it feels like to be trapped to the earth when the waters come, because they were let down by those who've given in and given up. Now no one is saying, it's all right, we're here for you, we'll protect you. In one of the Ark myths, it became necessary for God to send lions to protect Noah from attack by those who did not care for his message about the future. The lions being a late addition, it's concerning that even the Almighty did not foresee how badly some of his creation might behave when faced with unpalatable truths. The year after I was born, in the Thames estuary, 58 people drowned in floods on Canvey Island, because back then there was no communication to alert them to what was happening just down the coast. Communities picked off one by one in the storm surge. Now, in a world connected by mobile phones and internet and divided by wealth, it's still happening. So, upward, little ones, in the time of your lives, enjoy your play and learn to climb quickly before it's all up with you. Shelley wrote The Mask of Anarchy in the bloody wake of Peterloo and told us what's still true today. We are many, they are few. And Brecht says, in the dark times, there'll still be singing about the dark times.
that must see us through. Think how David faced Goliath with nothing but his sling. And there are words to keep the faith, to keep angry, and to sleep.
If you go, I know I'll never see you again, he said, as if sand were made of blue cheese, and he smiled, while the crease between his bulging eyes deepened. A cold bead of steam slid like a slug to the sill of my face. A shout without a mouth, a scaffold of home-run doubt, to work out how 1 and 1 make 3. He smoothed his slate grey hair and stared at the vestiges of love's cadaver, while it lay blamed and bedraggled upon the bathroom hook. We were both despairing sparks and played both parts well, like a Rod Stewart song, where the words divorced the lyrics, but the band still played on. 9 years after holding my golden anchor up for the open road to sea, a message came emboldened, sorry to be the bearer of somber news. The rest ended as it declared that he had died quietly of nothing but a bad heart. To recall the sound of the seagulls at Weston, the way we swung hands and sauntered like the sun herself, rocking the seafront, the evening that we spaghettied ourselves together and made love on the living room rug, the way the night made hugs of us. We unbuttoned the damage of the other and arose like mad harmony from the metropolis, each forgiving the other in advance of Baptist depravity. The hiss of my persistence, dominatrix and sly. Why in the world would I walk away from this? Just to twirl an eternal sphere, growing thin to the flipped stiff fingertips, only felt in fine mist. They too honed down to a pinpoint before dissipating out as more wasted rain gulp, for the sheer benefit of my redundant wit. For you, love became a heavy headline, but despite a stopover at the stone, your prophecy was indeed sown. Anger's spindle ran. You were right. It turned out just as you said. And never once after that did I ever see you again.
No sons to run your nation, no sons to sit on your throne. Hail your president, long live you, long live him. Worship your modern old king. Questions will offend his highness. Hush those who make noises. Rip the poor hearts now, weave the carpet in red. Her highness deserves comfort. Save those who have arched back, kill those who have brave hearts. Look at his majestic belly. Rub it and seek blessings. Our laughing Buddha, hail, hail, uniformed dogs in marching parades. At the center he walks, waves his precious hand, not like dogs who grinned at us. His smile will fill our empty stomachs, that generous man who gives us all. Look at our king and his concubines, how hard he tries to produce more kings. He needs his rest and money to stay focused. How dare you question his crucial decisions? Never he sells thy land if it is not important. Curse on you, Enagus, a burden to thy land. Fail to give birth to a single man. No sons to run thy nation, no sons to sit on thy throne. Hail, hail our president, our king, only who has sons. Get a grip, get to work, feed his family, quench their thirst, our big president in Tiny Island.
In the pub, watching the footy on TV, 2 pints in, and I'm feeling a bit peckish. My eyes scan for the snacks. Dry roasted peanuts? Nah, the taste of Guinness will get ruined Let's look further along the shelf. Oh, scampi fries. Maybe not. A bit too lemony and fishy. Let's move on to the next one. Ah, crisps perhaps. Nah, empty calories of wind. I needed something with substance. Then I came across pork scratchings. Yep, that's the one. That's the one. Every bite, different experience. I love that taste of that waxy fat that melts on the tongue. Sometimes a little bit sharp on the salt, but that's a good thing. It gets you ready for the next pint. Then you come across the hard one. In this moment, care is the utmost priority. Those pearly whites have seen a few injuries. And for false teeth goers, well, that's a different outcome. And then you have the rubbery one. You can suck or chew on that for hours. Then you have the crunchy one, my favorite. Not too soft or too hard, just right. Sometimes I buy a second packet, especially if my team is winning. I'm sitting here wondering, was it the Guinness or the pork scratchings that kept me here until closing time? Then I looked down at the table. Bloody hell. There were 6 empty packets just laying there. Was I greedy? Nah. Guinness and pork scratchings, just a blinding combination.
May all megalomaniacs, politicians, millionaires, goons, zip off to the moon, freeing our planet of greed, ambition, war. May the natural wisdom of natives connected to the soil and to the souls of their ancestors surface. May the cancer of piling mindless mountains of money be tempered by the word enough. May wounded mountains be healed of quarries devouring grass, trees, shrubs, snaking across valleys as highways, gobbling up pristine greenery. May the words universe, nature, replace names of goddesses and prophets, gods, goddesses, and prophets, teaching us to live as people of a planet, undivided by narrow nationalist identities.
See my setting self sift softly through the sleek heat. I seem to think I need something, but ran into a forgotten dream of running from all things comforting. Slinky on my approach. I definitely know when I want to go. Borrowed some time from tomorrow to see myself to yesterday. Now I'm living fantasy, so come and dangle with me. Serrated vision. All things splintered in my appeal to envision. It's visceral, deeper than abyssal. So slap out this idea of fiction. Let the bristles of your brain holes filter out the shit they don't need to know. Listen. Dreams repeat. Chasing myself around like a piece of meat. Like a velociraptor, cunning with fear. I can see, but too eerie to hear. Never really adhered to any. Felt the full force of reckless. In my face, it's relentless. I can see myself getting defensive, blended by my cloak and chase the angel out of my mental. Slipping through the fluids of thick and thirsty clues, find it new again. I'll never forget the taste of the bruises, my friend. This could be a rudimentary end, ruminating through the bends. Flexy on my grip and pinch until I feel the senses. My mind's mucky in the trenches. Teething for adventures, don't get lost in pretend fences.
Since poetry is no longer changing the world, let's give up the pen. Let's never, ever write again. They say poetry no longer changes the world. Let's tear up the papers, throw out the wafers. Poetry doesn't change the world. Let's put old hits on and sing and dance, enjoy the moment, have a romance. Since poetry doesn't change the world, let's have a good time. Let's have company and some wine. And then let's go happy to sleep, as words are too steep to understand or to withstand the crap. Since poetry does not change the world, let's live the illusions that ideals are useless, that heroes are monsters of the past, but dreams and poems continue to live at last in our sleep. Η ποίηση δεν αλλάζει τον κόσμο. Αφού η ποίηση δεν αλλάζει τον κόσμο, ας καταθέσουμε το στυλό. Αφού η ποίηση δεν αλλάζει τον κόσμο, ας σκίσουμε τα χαρτιά. Αφού η ποίηση δεν αλλάζει τον κόσμο, ας βάλουμε μουσική, να τραγουδήσουμε, να χορέψουμε. Αφού η ποίηση δεν αλλάζει τον κόσμο, ας περάσουμε καλά. Αφού η ποίηση δεν αλλάζει τον κόσμο, ας πάμε για ύπνο.
Heating fuel imports going through the roof, as is a lot of the heat. Snow white as Tipex. The white stuff falls once more, to spite thermometers' serial all-time highs thereby. Whether onto slalom slope or more off-piste, down out of a winter Olympic fit night sky, snowfall, correction fluid white, airlifted, air driven at one remove. Know what I mean? Helicoptered in. Drab bus ride. A frequent bus user, warm, dry, drizzle driven blind through puce permadusk. The wee hours. That's me peeing quite accurately in the middle of the night. The wee hours. By the gilded light of this single candlestick. Sisyphus-esque Mission Impossible, Jack and Jill meets Dear Liza mashup. That's title. First cousin to the bucket, a pail. Intrinsically, likewise, is prone to holes. Though up hog's back did go Jill and Jack, down to this day, they have never come back. Going nowhere. This is a Joni Mitchell, Bob Dylan mashup. Mashup 2. Parking lot to left of me, with the next lot to the right. Stuck here in a dead center, aka the middle lane, with no view whatsoever.
A simple question after all this time. Because your mouth is dry with anger still. Because your throat aches with impossible words. What are mouths for? A whiplash of water that dries in parched air, outrage in its momentary glitter. Can you speak now? Is anyone listening? Malta is an island of endings. The first people abused the land and left. The children of the second people died in such numbers they built great burial grounds. Their mouths stopped with grief. Then tomb and palace fell to dust. Can you write now? Will anyone read your words? They are packed in salt, bitter as green olives before they are ripe. The old languages cross and recross, survive, because they have something to say about persistence. Arabic, Italian, English, all endure in Maltese. As the mouth opens, the old vowels revive, breathing through a skeleton of consonants. If you do not speak, you will be swamped, the island lost again. Malta is an island of endings, those blind stomachs stuffed with greasy cash, return all to dust. No joy in the lemon tree. How you crave a trickle of fresh water to moisten mouths with kindness. How you long for Ovid's make-believe that Daphne turned to laurel with no pain. That the silenced Philomel learned to sing again as a nightingale. But in Malta, the most savagely bird-hostile place in Europe, they say, the stomachs have no appetite for bird song, for fresh beginnings. She had no choice. She spoke because that was what her mouth was for. The blind stomachs got closer each time. Poison, fire, and knife. Her dog, her home, her second dog. It was only a matter of time until one day under her very feet, the depth charge detonated. She was driving alone along a narrow mountain edge. The tremendous sound split the road open, crushed the car, broke her heart, shattered hands, eyes, mouth. What of her fierce, proud words now? Look now at the dry stones of that dry island, the blank, enormous sky. Look now at the waves hammering, slamming into the cliff. This island of endings. What will survive now? What is your mouth for? When will you begin?